The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Yeah, it's a fun movie. It's a movie a lot of people like. So I recently rewatched Texas Chainsaw 3D, and well, I had a lot of stuff to say about it, more than I kind of felt that I would. So of course, there's also kind of a lot of background to cover for this film because we just can't jump straight into the first one and be a colossal asshole about it. No, we have to talk about the series and the background for it. So of course, those now know Texas Chainsaw Massacre was a horror film that released in 1973 and revolves around a group of five young adults traveling through Texas to check in on a grave site because the two of the main characters, Sally and Franklin, well, they're concerned that their grandfather might have been dug up and used for home decor, so they just want to see that Grandpa, is still feeding worm food, or is still feeding worms, and not some sick, twisted art in Marilyn Manson's house. And it's, of course, there that they run into the oh-so-ever iconic Leatherface and the Sawyer family. The film is a smash hit. I also had a lot of legal trouble. The Mafia actually funded it, and the actors kind of got screwed over on their paychecks. It was also video nasty in the UK, meaning, well, the UK government hated it, but people loved it. There was also a lot of video nasties. And the nasty videos, are they just, videos that just are nasty? I don't know. But, so, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre series spawned a huge franchise, and got rebooted in 2003, and another reboot in 2015. Although, technically, TCM3 and TCM4 are kind of reboots, but we're not going to talk about those today. We're just gonna simply talk about Texas Chainsaw 3D and probably ask why it's not called Massacre 3D. I don't know. I don't make these movies. I am this background. So of course, these films have often been said to be based off real events. Kinda not really. They're kinda based off an actual crime. There's this guy, Ed Gein. He had probably was the world's shittiest childhood, right next to a few other people. But they're not important right now. Ed Gein, he had an interesting home life. His mother was a super ultra religious Christian. Actually, no, I don't know. Yeah, I think she was a Christian, and she basically hated other people. And made sure Ed hated other people. She also basically kind of taught him how to be scared of the outside world. And had a very poor relationship with her husband too. And also with one of her sons. And so yeah, this kind of messed up Ed from a very young age. And then his mother dies in like 1944 and 1945, I think. And yeah, that's pretty much most of Ed's life, is that he lived a very crappy life. And with his mom dying, he basically kind of snapped, started digging up people, and killed 2 women. And these tales kind of haunted America, not just Wisconsin, not just Plainfield, but the whole country, and it influenced several horror series. The most notable are, of course, Buffalo Bill and Silence of the Lambs, Norman Bates and Psycho, and of course Leatherface and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And so, the series eventually gets rebooted, and we're back at 2013, the 7th film in the series, and probably one of the more controversial entries in the series, mainly because, well, the guy who wrote it or directed it was one of the guys involved was involved in Friday the 13th, Jason Goes to Hell, which is probably one of the most hated Friday films. So, I guess, is this film even good? Now, the film begins right after the first one. Sally escapes from the Sawyers in the first one and makes it to safety, and the striker throws a big wrench at Leatherface. Now Vince gets hit by a car and dies. But Sally, now she's free. She might get a little scarred for life, but she's free. All her friends basically became dinner for them. Of course, we see a Texas deputy who's, named after Tobe Hooper, who had made the first one, the second one, and also made Poltergeist. And, of course, a few other movies. But, yeah, so we see a deputy riding to the Sawyer house to confront Jed, who, I guess they know about Jed, and, he's going to arrest him because Jed killed a bunch of people. Drayton doesn't want to give up Jed, though, because, he's family. You don't turn your back on family. Unless you get a lot of money for it, then you kind of do that. But you didn't hear that from me. But, of course, there's a bit of a standoff because Drayton doesn't want to give up Jed, but the other Sawyers, they kind of do. It kind of hits the fan as more people are starting to stop by the house and kind of really just get an argument with the deputy, including the future mayor. And of course, one of his lackeys throws a fire bottle into the house and a shootout commences. The Sawyers are pretty much killed, except for a baby, who's then taken in loving arms after this guy stomps the mom's head in. And of course, we have some crime scene photos. And then we, of course, fast forward to 2013 with a 20-year-old Alexandra Daddario playing Heather. You might have known her from the Percy Jackson movies. But she gets a letter from her grandma who died. I guess her grandma hated her children and just went straight forward to the grandchildren. I don't know, that's what I would do. But yeah, she finds out that, she's inheriting a house. At least she didn't inherit that from, a crappy economy. But she doesn't know who this grandmother is. And so she wants to kind of go all the way down to Texas just to see what this is. Now, normally we kind of think that this is a scam. I mean, if someone tells you that, your grandmother died, you're probably asking yourself, what the hell do you want? But there's really no survival instincts. And trust me, that'll come in later. Keep that for the test. Jokes aside. So so they go all the way down to Texas. Heather, Kenny, Ryan, and Nikki. So they're gonna go check this place out. And they run into a hitchhiker named Daryl. Now, the last time you saw a hitchhiker in these movies, she kind of killed herself. But the one before that he was a little bit insane. And Kurt Franklin, of course, that's not really much of an issue because of how annoying Franklin is. But he also, actually, no, he was the last hitchhiker, I think. After a little yawn break, so they head down to Verna Carson's house and meet this one guy who was also in Office Space. He's basically trying to get Heather to read this letter. Heather basically tells him to go shove it and goes inside the house. They eventually go out into town so they can get, some barbecue stuff. That's where they meet Scott Eastwood, Clint Eastwood's son, who plays a cop. I mean, your dad was a cowboy and you're a cop. That's not really much of a career choice, isn't it? But of course, there's also the mayor who offers to take the house off of Heather's hands. Heather basically tells him no. I mean, honestly, that guy probably... I don't really want to hate that guy, but that guy essentially could have saved your friend's Heather. And it kind of sucks that you just told him to go screw himself. Like, she essentially kind of got her friends killed because of, because of a bit of a stupid decision. But of course, it's during this time that Daryl is ransacking the house. He goes into the basement, which is kind of a no-no in these films, and he's trying to get into this one place. And then he gets his head smacked with a hammer. Yeah, Leatherface is still alive. And he makes quick work of Daryl. Like, really quick work of Daryl. Like, he hated that guy. I mean, Daryl kind of was stealing from him. But it's like, settle down, Leatherface. You guys could have maybe had a battle with knives or forks. But of course, they come back, and, I guess they just don't go to explore the rest of the house. Well, maybe there's a strong scent of iron in the basement, but yeah, we're just gonna ignore that. Oh yeah, I stole from us. Well, it's just... Yeah, I guess that's not too much of a big deal. Let's go get dinner. So, when they're all kind of screwing around, Trey Songz, yeah, he's in this movie. You might not really care, but the movie kind of wants you to care that he's in this film, because... it's Trey Songz. He was famous at one point. Can you name a Trey Songz song? Do you even know who this is? Did you know who this was until, before I even mentioned him? And if you say no to all of these, you are as cultured as I am. And I am someone who actually did keep an eye on pop culture. But yeah, so... Trey Songz is off doing his own thing, Nick is off doing her own thing, and Heather's ransacking her grandmother's belongings. Grandchild of the Year. Kenny goes to the basement like a dumbass and gets a hook to the back by Leatherface. And there's some weird industrial noise. I think it's like a chainsaw. But there's no chainsaw. It's a meat hook. I guess, does he have an electric meat hook or something? Now, so Kenny is kind of dead afterwards, and Nikki, who kind of was implied to have, who was actually said to have an affair with Ryan, tries to basically have another affair with Ryan. She leads him to barn, leaving Heather all alone in the house, and Heather finds her dead grandmother. Wow, shocking. I mean... I'm pretty sure dead people smell. How stupid are these characters? Oh my god. So she runs into a kitchen, and that's when she sees Leatherface prepping meals for Arby's or Wendy's. Jokes aside, I probably feel like I need to say that these are jokes just so I don't anger these two fast food companies. I can also probably say it's McDonald's too. This stuff's kind of nasty. I also apologize for anyone who actually eats during my videos. My bad. But of course, so she tries running away from Leatherface, and he just slams her into the table. She gets knocked out. He drags her back to the basement where you see Daryl and Kenny. Daryl's dead. Kenny's still alive, unfortunately. He puts Kenny on a meat hook, and Kenny, ends up grabbing Leatherface's mask. Leatherface just saws him in half. Wait, oh my god, they killed Kenny. You bastards. But yeah, with Kenny dead, Heather basically just kind of runs out of the house. And she just immediately falls down the stairs and starts swimming. Because we really need to have the main character almost get killed by the killer. That's how these movies work. There's formulaic as a Britney Spears song in 2002. Then, of course, so Heather actually hides in the grave, which actually is not a bad idea, but it's just like, he's just gonna look around and he's gonna notice that grave closed, and he knows who lives in the house. So she kind of traps herself. Leatherface tries killing her, but she escapes because Nikki and Ryan cut the affair session short, and Nikki ends up calling out to that because Nikki's a dumbass. And of course, Heather crashes through the barn doors after they scare off Leatherface, and they try escaping the grounds. They don't get far because, well, this gate, it's closed and they gotta open it. The car stops, cliche, and of course, Leatherface saws through the back of the tire. And honestly, they should just ran that fucker down. Let's back up on him, you know? He's not mortal. He'll probably die from that. The van crashes. Trey Songz actually dies, which is absolutely horrifying because he was such an integral part for the story. We even got to listen to his music. Wait, who was this? Nikki also survives, but Nikki basically becomes kidnapped from Leatherface, and Heather kind of leads him away. Now, honestly, Heather kind of just could have been like, yeah, fuck you, I'm leaving. Have fun done with him. But yeah, she's cool. She's a cool character. But I feel like a lot of people would generally just be selfish during this point and just be like, yeah, bye. You know. So she runs into some carnival. Leatherface stalks her. And this is kind of probably one of the more dumbest moments in the movie. Because that's not who Leatherface was. Leatherface is scared of people. He's not going to go into a carnival chasing after someone. He's just going to go back home because these people scare him. That's the whole thing with Leatherface. Is that he's more scared of his victims than they are of him. And it's kind of because of this that his family takes advantage of him and he becomes kind of scary. He becomes scary is because he acts in fear rather than genuine, hate or something. It's not like Jason where he's just killing people who, happen to cross his path, or Freddy Krueger where he's trying to go for revenge, or Chucky who's trying to reclaim his soul, or how many of our fucking ghost faces run at this point. But of course, Leatherface gets scared off because a guy points a gun at him. I guess. They take Heather into custody where she tells them all about them. And it gets revealed that Heather is a Sawyer. Yeah, Heather was that baby from 1973. And that baby turned out to be a 20-year-old woman 40 years later. Yeah, it's I don't know why they did such a huge time jump, but Heather's 40. I mean, they could have made it like, yeah, this is like Heather's daughter who could have been in this movie. Or something, but, I mean, horror movies haven't always had the best creativity. But of course, Roy Hartman wants to, he wants to stop this before it gets worse. Sheriff Hooper kind of wants to end it too, but he wants to end it his own way. Heather basically tells, she basically calls these guys killers and is trying to meet with Farnsworth, who basically tells her, well, if you read that fucking letter, none of this shit would have happened. So it's kind of your fault that Kenny, Devil, and Ryan got killed and why Nikki, got crammed in the freezer. Like, that's kind of on you, Heather. But no, she wants to basically demand why he did not tell her. And it's just like, it's kind of both their faults. Farnsworth could have told her, yeah, there's a guy living in your basement. Read this letter. Let me introduce you to him so he doesn't butcher your fucking friends and probably fucking eats them. Yeah, they're cannibals. I swear, the writing in this movie is just on par with the writing of Scream 7. It horrifies me that they're making an 8th Scream. I'm actually genuinely terrified of this franchise now. So, of course, Hartman wants to end Jed tonight, and they basically have Heather kidnapped, use her as bait for Leatherface. Leatherface comes all the way to, this slaughterhouse or whatever it is, to kill Heather. That's when he notices Heather has tits. Now, she has a birthmark, and he realizes that, yeah, that's his cousin, so she's off limits. There's an Alabama joke that we're all thinking of, but we're just gonna let that slide. Just like the shitty writing for this movie and Scream. But of course, Heather is Jed's cousin. Jed actually had survived the house fire. The same with Edith Rose Sawyer, or Heather. And now that's kind of when Hartman and his lackey kind of come in, start taking a shot out of Leatherface, and Heather has the chance to leave. Yeah, fuck him, he killed your friends. Nope, that's not what happens. She basically works Leatherface to kill the murderer, who turns into a bunch of mincemeat, probably goes into the local McDonald's or something. Sheriff Hooper watches this, doesn't do anything, and just tells him to clean the shit up. The two cousins head back to the Carson Manor, where Heather cleans off his mask and wants to look at it. Leatherface is like, look, no, I'm taking something. So he doesn't want her to look at his mask. He goes all the way back down to the basement. Heather finally reads the letter and decides to stay with him. And it's just like, you have nothing in common with this guy. In fact, like, he killed, like, two of your best friends. Like, what the hell? There's also a post-credit scene where we get to see Heather's adoptive parents go up to the manor, and that's when Leatherface pops out, and the movie ends. Well, how is this movie? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it okay? Is it at least better than the recent Scream movies? Well, the answer for that one's actually yes, it's actually far better than recent Scream movies. I'd kind of say this one was a 3.5 out of 5. Probably controversial ranking, but I like this film. It has flaws. I'm not gonna deny that. Like, it generally could have been a lot better, in my opinion. But the film itself has some good graces. I'm not gonna deny that. Leatherface is actually scary in this film. I really do like the mask he has in this one, although it kind of sucks that it's only one mask. Well, in previous movies, he's had a few. Like, the first mask, the first movie, he had 3. He had his butcher mask, his pretty woman mask, and his grandma mask, and it really reflects the personalities that Leatherface had. Where, like, oh, he has the grandma mask if, like, he's doing housework. He had the dinner mask, because it's like, yeah, he's eating dinner with his family. And he had the butcher mask, where it's like, yeah, he's using this, to, I guess, do his chores as well about that. And he also had this with, like, the remake and, like, the prequel from that. Like, he had various different masks depending on the situation. Even the Next Generation had that. Like, he had a woman's suit, because, well, this is kind of based off Ed Gein, because the guy basically wanted to be his mother. Like, we're just gonna keep it there. He was completely obsessed with his mother, and that's kind of why Leatherface does have some, feminine traits. Is that's like, yeah, they want to explore Leatherface's psyche. And of course, so I guess all my other thoughts on this movie, well, I do like the masks, but I really do wish that they had more masks for him. I do love the atmosphere of this one. The intro for this one is actually generally amazing, and it was cool seeing Neurosaurus, even though this is like the only time you see them. Leatherface could have actually done more with this, and hopefully if this continuity ever continues, which I kind of doubt it will, because Lionsgate doesn't have the rights for it anymore. I think it's either A24 or Blumhouse who have it. But I just feel like there's a lot more that they could have done with this universe. Not to mention, the Hartmans and the Sawyers hating each other's. I actually really like. It actually adds a lot of sense of history towards not only these two families but this series. Like, these people hate each other, you know, and it works well. Uh, Heather is a fairly likable protagonist, but her deciding to really just stay after Leatherface fucking killed all her friends is a little stupid. Oh yeah, Nikki didn't die, some guy blew her brains on accident because yeah, they sent a cop to investigate the house and Leatherface kind of kills him. But yeah, there's not really too many chainsaw kills in this one either, which kind of sucks. And there's a siren out there. I thought it was a cat for a moment. But yeah, there's really not too much chainsaw kills in this one, which also kind of sucks. Uh, as for the acting, it's fairly okay. Yeah, it's definitely not Oscar worthy, but the actors do a good job. As much as I've poked fun at this movie and at Trey Songz, I do want to actually say the actors did a good job with the acting. And the production also did good too. I know it's not the best movie, but it definitely does deserve the credit for that. I personally think it's a pretty decent movie. I know a lot of people don't like it. I know there are some people that do love it. I definitely love it, but I'm definitely going to admit that the movie has flaws and that it could have also been a lot better. That's all I really have to say for this one. So, yeah, I'd say Texas Chainsaw 3D is worth watching. It might not be the best in the series, which, believe me, I will definitely have to review the other films. But it's definitely a film that's still worth watching. But of course, until then, thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.